Let's start it off first today with the Doc Jet Fan. Hello, Doc.
Hey, that was nice of you to take my call. I'm sorry about Green Bean. Very hesitant to make this call, and I'll tell you why. Because I like to keep it positive. I was watching Jets Collective, which is outstanding, by the way. I really didn't understand Rich's take on the Geno thing, and let me tell you why. We didn't see the whole tape, what happened with the woman. And we're seeing, a rocky picture as somebody's running through a hallway. I'm not going to comment about anything can happen with relationships. We did see a lot of the tape when he was pulled over by the officer, correct? When he didn't have his license and he had the wrong tag on his car. What concerns me, and I think everybody gets a second chance. I was happy to have Geno back when they signed him. I thought that he's a professional quarterback. I thought, he had a rough go at it the first time with the Jets. Give him a second chance. I don't see a damn thing changed. I mean, you're part of what his salary is, however many millions of dollars is to be a leader, for the Jets, potentially to mentor a quarterback in 2027. What did you see when you saw the cop pull him over, other than complete arrogance, lack of accountability, etc.? Because I think it's fair to comment about that because we saw the whole tape. That we saw the 5 or 6 minutes. I wouldn't comment on something that we didn't see, but that we saw. Thoughts?
Well, look, I don't think it's a good look for Geno, but I also think there's too many people. I'm not saying you're doing this, Doc. I just have seen this on social media or in the comment sections of videos being like, well, because this video, he was, you could say, rude to the officer, but that means he's guilty of what he's accused of doing with this woman. And I don't think
not at all.
I don't think the two have anything to do
with
one another. That said, I don't think Geno Smith's the best guy. I don't. Like, there's a lot of videos of him doing things that you could question, whether it be like him coaching. Like, I saw some video emerge of him coaching like a charity 7-on-7 flag football game last year where he was like screaming at like the opposing team. Like, just, you don't want your franchise quarterback operating the way Geno at times has conducted himself. That said, the fact that video got out, I think Rich was more like calling the post, buying that, and then posting as like tabloid nonsense. Because I'm sure Geno's not the only person that got caught up on a traffic stop and was rude to a police officer that plays in the NFL. Again, not the best optics, but I don't think we can extract like, oh, this video came out, so I think less of Geno as a person, and it wouldn't be a good fit with grown men in that locker room, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Jake. And like I said, I'm very hesitant to make this call. I don't like to condemn anybody knowing the facts, but look, you know what? The Knicks just gave you a blueprint. Did the Knicks have the best roster in the NBA? Probably not. Probably not, but character certainly goes a long way. It counts in every job. You mentioned, one of the people that you would call it, if there's an issue with Geno, you'd call about Cousins, right? They're not giving up Cousins. They want him to mentor Mendoza. I mean,
sure.
in a perfect world, if I had gotten my way, the Jets would have been able to draft Mendoza. I would have signed Cousins in 2 seconds. He would have taught him everything he known. He probably would have accelerated his, learning curve in the NFL dramatically. So they're not giving him up for the same reason. I'm not thrilled about having Geno on this team. I hope that doesn't sound judgmental. But there were a couple of statements said on Collective where, well, if he wins, all will be forgiven. You know what? Show some character. The Knicks won a championship just doing just that. And again, it sounds, the old man get off my lawn stuff, but I've been around long enough to know that character really does matter. I'm not sure I want Geno around my 27 quarterback, whether that be CJ Carr or Dante Moore.
Well, he's a free agent, though, to be fair. So
Okay.
He might not be. Geno's here for a year, and we'll see after that. I think in a best case scenario, he plays well enough where he can be the bridge next year. Maybe
Right.
Glenn saved his job. You have the same offensive coaching staff. So Frank Reich's here. So you could work with a young quarterback, and that guy doesn't have to play right away. And he could help, be put in a spot where it's like Chad Pennington eventually took over and the team was in place. He didn't have to start right away. I think that's probably the best case scenario. The likely scenario is this team's over-unders 5.5 for a reason. They win 5 games, and it's a brand new coaching staff that's going to want their own bridge, their own Josh McCown type for whoever they draft in 27. And I don't think Geno's here after a year. That's to me the more likely scenario than he's here mentoring Arch Manning or CJ Carr or whoever the quarterback is.
I think that's fair. And I think what also is fair with what Rich said, I'll give him this. He said, let it play out over the year. It's a long year. Yep. Let's see exactly what Geno does in that clubhouse over the year. But for God's sakes, can we ever get a break? I mean, can we talk about who they should sign off the free agent scrap heap, whoever's left now, rather than, police reports? And give me a break, man. I'm hoping for the best, Jake.
Amen, Doc. Good call. Totally fair. Let's just hope that he's not charged with anything and he's exonerated and we can go from there.
Thank you for your time.
Jet up. Let's go.
It's amazing, though. There have been a lot of NFL offseason, I don't want to call Geno's thing an arrest, but there's been a lot of football players that have gotten in trouble with the law this offseason, right? Terry and Arnold is the most recent one. Yet the one people were the most outraged about, at least some, maybe it's my Twitter algorithm feeding it to me, is Jackson Dart. How dare he introduce the president? How dare he? Meanwhile, Josh Jacobs is practicing and he's accused of domestic violence. Terry and Arnold, where's the outrage for that? Right? He got robbed, and then rather than report it to the police, he tried to rob back the robbers, and they apparently robbed the wrong people. Threw his whole career away, potentially, facing life in prison. A lot of issues out there.
A lot of great stuff going on, man. I'm going to be real, Jake. I'm not going to let this drama and this nonsense with Geno get me down right now. There's too much good stuff going on.
It's only nonsense if he's charged. If he's
100%.
Or it's only nonsense, I should say, if he's not charged. It's a real problem if he is charged, because what he's accused of could put him on the sideline for the entire season if he's charged with, domestic violence assault.
Well, here's my take with that. That, in my opinion, that woman went there and filmed everything in a rage bait performance. If there was the video of that happening, that would have been released already. And that's where I'm at with this situation.
I agree. If she said in her video and then in her statement of the 911 call that Geno Smith, quote, beat her ass. If he beat her ass, to quote her, wouldn't there be proof of that?
Yeah.
Right? If Geno Smith, that's 6'3", who's a professional athlete, quote unquote, beat a woman's ass, would there not be, proof of domestic violence? They'd put him in cuffs immediately if there was any evidence of that. And there wasn't.
Absolutely. So it's unfortunate. You hope that someone who has matured on the field would have matured off the field, but that's a whole other, thing to get into. But I think that this is a lot of smoke here, and I don't think that anything ties back to him with the accusations that were made. Now, they reopened the investigation after it was originally closed, as Rich reported. So, but it goes to show some behaviors, right? Like being a dick to the police for no reason when you fucked up. Everything. Geno's always Geno's problem. And I'm someone who matured later in life, just this year, for crying out loud. I'm 47. But when I look at Geno, it's man, you are multi-million-dollar NFL quarterback. Multiple franchises have trusted you with leading their team. Why can't you get your shit together off the field? Why can't you be decent? It just seems like a fuck the world mentality when it's not necessary. Sorry about the language. That's the only way I can really summarize this. It seems like F everybody, and that ain't gonna work in this generation. Even 15 or 10 years ago when he got punched, it didn't work. And now this generation is a lot different. So you gotta be able to grow and develop and adapt to the times. And I don't see Geno doing that off the field. Can he get the chemistry with Reich? Can he get the ball out on time? That's a different discussion. Maybe he can, and maybe he just doesn't know how to use his downtime properly. Who knows? And also, the super soaker in the sink in the garage is one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
Where do you keep your firearm? Not in the sink?
Jake, with my mental health, man, be grateful that I don't have one. I've never even tried to get one with this brain.
Well, Nick, good luck with Ken O'Brien, 7 p.m. Sunday night.
Thank you,
Hopefully, Geno Smith will do Ken proud this year, rocking the number 7.
Yeah. And we got a couple good questions. Like I said, Cisco is now the official producer of the show. So shout out to Cisco for coming on board and helping take things to another level. And we got some good things lined up for him. We got some surprises for him, and hoping to have a great discussion. I got a lot of good feedback about the Wesley and Connie interview, and I'm hoping to keep that trend going Sunday. So if you guys have time Sunday night, come check it out live. If not, please check it out afterwards, and let's go Jets, baby.
Yeah.
I hug him every day. I hug him every day.
Give Kenny O a big hug from all of us. Here's the video with Geno I was referencing. I first saw this from Justin48 on X. Shout out to Justin. I think he is coming to Gangrene Beach Club, he said as well. So
that's why they pay me the big bucks. That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Getting into some sort of altercation when he was coaching the South Florida Express 7-on-7 team.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
He had to be restrained by security.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. That's why I get paid the big bucks. That's why they bring the big bucks to me.
I think that's Tyrod, by the way. I think that is Tyrod Taylor. Look. Good catch by me, I believe. You know the two of them have a relationship, so it would make sense. Like the security here had to stop Geno from going over to whoever he was yelling at. Again, I don't want my franchise quarterback acting like this. It could be nothing, but it's a pattern. Just trash talking and all that, but Geno's not here for long. He's here for a year. Again, Seattle won 10 games and still wanted to move on from him. Now, you could say, well, they moved on from him for Sam Darnold and they won the Super Bowl. They did, but think about it. Sam Darnold had one great year in Minnesota and the Vikings moved on from him. And Seattle still was like, we need that guy. They took a risk. It worked. Sam was great, but they were willing to move on from Geno. And then Geno quarterbacked the team that had the number one pick in the draft. It wasn't all his fault. Their offensive line was terrible. Chip Kelly was a disgrace. The Raiders were a mess. There's a reason why their entire coaching staff got fired. But the Jets were a mess last year. And while I think they've improved with Frank Reich, it's still Aaron Glenn coaching this team. Last year we talked about all the different scenarios for Justin Fields. Did we ever once consider the worst case scenario that he's just freaking terrible? That was the worst case scenario that happened last year. So I think Geno's better than that. But again, if Geno wasn't the Jet quarterback and this stuff would be coming out, what do you think your Bills fan friends are saying? Or Patriots, Dolphins, Giants? Geno's got a lot to prove. So you have that, and then this was the video of Geno and the police officer during the traffic stop in March. Again, this only came out because the media could smell blood in the water. So the New York Post pays whoever leaked this to them so they could get clicks. But you know what? I know not everyone enjoyed seeing this interaction.
How you doing, sir? License registration, please? Huh? Okay. You have registration for the vehicle? Please. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
Access tag of Romeo Bravo Yankee Romeo 75 from back to the green 2024 Lambo out of Navy. Stop.
10-4. Quick question, why is this coming back as a Lambo?
I don't know, I probably switched the tag. I got a lot of cars, man. I probably switched the tag on one of the cars.
All right. Yeah, I just need, because it's coming back.
Yeah, but what did I do for you to, what did I do? Did I do anything wrong?
The question is, why I'm asking you, the tag.
Yeah, I just told you. I'm just asking you, what did I do?
The tag's wrong.
My other car, my Lambo at the house.
I understand, but I need to know the information on this car. That's what I'm asking you.
That's a Rolls Royce. You can look it up.
Well, I mean, the tag's supposed to match the vehicle.
What I'm saying is maybe I made a mistake.
I understand that. Well, what I'm asking you, sir, is the registration for the vehicle
Right,
to
that's
make
what I'm
sure.
getting for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. But the tag doesn't belong to his
Right, and
vehicle.
that's what I just told you. Maybe I put the wrong tag.
Yeah,
on the
but that's why I'm pulling you over.
Okay, that's
yeah.
what I was asking.
It's called unassigned tag to the
But
vehicle.
I'm saying, why'd you read my tag? You just wanted to? It's a nice car. You just wanted to?
No. You read anybody's tag.
Right.
Yeah. That's my job. That's my job, sir. Okay. Okay. All right. Sit tight.
Again, the part that people don't like is telling the cop there, do your job better. Like, again, doesn't mean he committed battery or assault, whatever he's accused of, but it's not a good look for Geno. Can we acknowledge that?
All right, sir. All right, so you'll be getting 2 citations today. First one's going to be for the unassigned tag. You have a mandatory court appearance on April 2nd at 1:30, and the other one's for not having your driver's license on you. Please drive safe, sir.
Not great. Not great. But again, doesn't mean he committed assault. That's where people go too far with that nonsense. All right. Right now, we need your calls to keep this show rolling. So call in if you want in on the conversation. Talking Jets, talking anything on your mind. New York sports, Yankees, Red Sox, Mets in the Andy Green era. All that and more is up for grabs. Jack says early prediction for who the 27 Jet quarterback is. Well, I think it's going to be a first round selection. I could easily just say Arch Manning, but how often does the guy that we think the Jets are going to end up with actually play out? Although, if you remember, we all talked about the Suck for Sam campaign, and that actually happened. The Jets did end up with Darnold. So maybe it could happen. I'll throw a curveball. CJ Carr, Notre Dame quarterback. I'll throw a little curveball at you. It would be funny if it ends up being Dante Moore, by the way. Oh, he's avoiding the Jets. And it's like a year later, not so fast. Although I don't think he was actually avoiding the Jets, as we talked about at the time when that went down. The Jake Asman Show is now presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app made simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build your lineup in seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is already offering NFL futures, including futures for New York Jets players. Take a look at the lineup that you see on the screen. Garrett Wilson, more than 4.5 reception touchdowns. David Bailey, he's going to have at least 7 sacks his rookie year. Arvell Reese, almost a Jet. I think he'll have at least 3 sacks in his rookie year with the Giants. That is a 3-pick power play, $10 to pay out $60. That is just an example of some of the lineups you can make over at PrizePicks. Make your own lineups today for any sport. Just download the PrizePicks app, use the code HMA, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And while we wait for Green Bean, I have right here some more from our collective the other day. We've been talking about possible backups for the Jets, and a popular name I've mentioned has been Cooper Rush. Not so fast, says ESPN's Rich Samini. Windy City writes in, is it a bad time to pull the trigger on one of the veteran QBs that are still available, i.e. Cooper Rush? We mentioned Rush earlier. Are there any other veteran free agent quarterbacks at this stage that would garner interest if the Jets do have to explore adding another vet?
I mean, there's Josh Dobbs out there. I think if the Jets made a move, it would have to be someone who's currently on a roster. I think the Cooper Rush thing that ship has sailed. I would keep an eye on like the Philadelphia situation. They have a lot of quarterbacks there.
Andy Dalton knows Frank Reich, if you want to find a connection.
I mean, are they going to keep 4 quarterbacks, on their roster? I don't know. I mean, they say they can do that, but that's a lot. So I would keep an eye on that situation. I think it would be more of a player who's on a roster.
I think the big thing is if they were to add another quarterback, it doesn't necessarily have to correlate to, well, they're concerned about Geno's availability, right? I mean, Kate Klubnik got banged up at the end of minicamp. Bailey Zappi wasn't very impressive based on the reports from media and attendance watching these practices. He's got 9 career starts to his name. They might have signed another veteran anyway. They're not paying Zappi anything. They could cut him. They could easily cut Brady Cook. We know they're going to keep Klubnik, and Geno, barring being charged with anything, is on the roster as the week 1 starter. So I wouldn't look too much into the Jets adding another veteran and saying, well, they're concerned about Geno Smith. I don't think one necessarily has to do with the other. That said, I don't know why the ship would have necessarily sailed on Cooper Rush if they were interested previously. He's still out there. Right, like Carson Wentz they were linked to, but Wentz wanted to go to Minnesota instead. God bless. I still think backup is a situation we're going to be following. They'll probably start camp, assuming Geno doesn't get charged with anything, with the current quarterback room and see if maybe Klubnik got better, if he learned a lot of the playbook during the 6 weeks between the final mini camp and the start of training camp, and they'll go from there. And I'll also look at it like this. What's the rush? Right? Unless someone gets hurt right away, what's the rush? Pun intended with Cooper Rush. Like, I don't think you need to sign him. I don't think there's stiff competition to bring him in right now. So you could let it play out a week or so into camp and evaluate. Last year, the Jets didn't have Nick Folk on their team a week into training camp. So Muji has shown the ability to add on the fly. So I don't think one has to do with the other in terms of Cooper Rush, if they sign him, or even if it's someone else. The name I brought up in the podcast, as you saw in the clip, was Andy Dalton. The Eagles have 4 quarterbacks right now. They keep it 4. Andy Dalton played for Frank Reich, so he knows the offense. He could help install the offense to the other veteran players, the other young players. Right? You want your backup to have all the answers. So the starter is getting ready for the game every week. He's focused on the game plan. You want the backup to be able to say to the wide receiver, hey, he's going to want you to run this on this play. This is what Frank likes. So that's kind of how I look at it right now. I do think they will add a veteran quarterback, but I'm not going to say, well, this means that they're not sold on Geno Smith or his availability they're concerned with. I think Geno's the week 1 starter. I have no doubt about that. Green Bean will hopefully join us soon. If you missed it, I already shared what the raffle prize was. I did radio this morning with Bart Scott, filling in for Chris Carlin on their show together on ESPN New York. So I said, hey, Bart, mind signing a football for the Asmaniacs? And Bart was nice enough to do it. So end of this show today, we're going to raffle away a signed Bart Scott football. The weekly raffle will be on our Saturday soiree show tomorrow. So get all your entries in for your chance to win the following prizes on our show tomorrow. Signed Wayne Corbett jersey. Signed Aaron Glenn end zone pylon. Garrett Wilson, Jets jersey number plaque, a Jets jersey of your choosing, and 2 tickets to Gangrene Beach Club, which is coming up soon, folks. July 11th. Get ready for that. Kelly Maria is the first to enter the Asmaniac raffle. She's in for 1. Thank you, Kelly. Derek, the Kansas Jet fan, in the Asmaniac raffle for 1 as well. Let's go.
Jet up. Let's go.
Super chats, cut the line. Kevin says there's still time to give up that 2nd rounder for Tanner McKee. Where's Nick Faria at? He's on vacation this week, so we can't troll him. Otherwise, Nick would be our guest on Friday. Remember the Eagles were going to get a 2nd for Tanner McKee? It was laughable then. It's even more laughable now. Again, if something were to happen to Geno, I don't want the Jets to give up anything of significance. You might say, but Jake, what are they going to do? The season's cooked anyway if they lost Geno. I would try and get Jacoby Brissett or call the Raiders about Kirk Cousins. That's what I would do if something happened with Geno. He's charged of what he's accused of doing, and obviously his availability then becomes a huge question mark. That's what I would do.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.